Warm good morning to one and all present here. Let us start our webinar. Now I request our beloved principal, Dr. Devasundari ma'am, to deliver the welcome address. Please, ma'am.
Thank you, Ramya. Good morning to all. It's a pleasure to welcome you all this morning for this session on Toppers Talk by Ms. Ammu J, IRS, Assistant Commissioner of Income Tax. The entry into civil services, has nothing to do with the educational background or work experience. You just should have an inclination towards the public service, set a goal, and achieve with all your full capacity. The consistent hard work will finally pay off is the message we always convey to all our students. And repeatedly saying, hearing from us, it's more meaningful to hear from the toppers who have exceptionally achieved in their life. And so actually we started this series last month as part of the Civil Services Club. And thanks, Ramya, for initiating this. The first session last month was with our distinguished alumnus, Mr. Bhakya Gautam, who is a 2016 passed out from the Department of Mechanical Engineering, who actually he secured an All India rank 178 in the examination conducted by UPSC for the post of Assistant Commandant in the Central Armed Police Force. And today we have Ms. Ammu J, who has secured an All India rank 141 in the 2019 UPSC exam. I believe you would have also got an IPS and IFS for your rank 141 in the general category. In fact, morning I was asking Ramya, personally, I'm actually very curious to know why and how IRS was your choice. Uh, to give a background, I'll hear from Ammu when as the questions go. And she is basically a civil engineering graduate, and understand you are a third generation civil servant from your family too. I was actually reading about you on the internet and listening to all your mock interviews in YouTube, the way you connected civil engineering to geography. And there were many points, which I felt students will get an answer from those videos. I'm sure today's session is going to enlighten all our civil service aspirants who have joined us today from our campus and also from outside. Welcoming you for this virtual session, Ms. Ammu. Thanks for taking time out of your schedule. We also like to express our heartiest congratulations once again for this grand success, and we wish you all very best in all your career and life. I also
Thank you.
extend my I also extend my welcome to our Dean Student Affairs, Ms. Anita Manuel, heads of departments, all my colleagues, and my dear students, and all the external participants who have joined here. Also, on behalf of KCG College of Technology, once again, I would like to provide a very warm and hearty welcome to all of you who have joined us today in this virtual session. In fact, in between a long weekend also. Thank you so much, and let's listen to Ms. Ammu for a enlightening session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Now I request our Dean Student Affairs, Dr. Anita Manuel ma'am, to felicitate the gathering. Please, ma'am.
Thank you, Ramya. So let me start by felicitating and congratulating Ms. Amuje for this wonderful achievement. And I was asking her, did this achievement come easily to you? I was asking her, did you? And she was saying, no, I had to try multiple times. So I think that I'm very happy that she had to go through that experience, because I think that is a very important thing that she needs to share with all of you. Because many of you may feel frustrated at any point, when you fail, when you can't succeed, you may say, okay, this is it. I can't, spend more energy on this. I give up. So here is someone who did not give up, and she was telling me this was actually her last chance to do it. So she was determined, and she was focused, and she refused to let the fact that she didn't get through whichever attempt that she made, but she stayed on track and she just worked harder. And I think that lesson of resilience is also one insight I hope that all the listeners here will take away from Amuje's experience and her achievements. So I congratulate you again, Ms. Ammu, for this wonderful achievement. I'm
Thank you,
sure
ma'am.
your family, thank you, and I'm sure your family is very, very excited, and all your friends, everybody, and we are very happy to have you here with us. And to all those who have registered for this, I see that a lot of young, registrants are here, and to all of them also, there is a lot of prestige attached with IAS, IFS, IRS, all these. But along with that, why? But we'd have to ask, why is it so prestigious? What is it so prestigious about this? Because it is I feel it because it is an opportunity to serve the country, right? They are the ones who are going to make the country better. We see so many lacuna in a country. We all love our country, but we feel, oh, this could be done, that could be done. So here are these people who have this wonderful opportunity to actually do something about it. And they are the ones who have been, putting the economy of this country, the entire administrative machinery of this country running. They are the ones who step forward when there's a disaster. They are the ones, every time we turn to whenever something is happening in this country. So to all of you, I hope that, if you get through, you will be serving this country with, I would say, integrity. And when Amu has chosen to be from IRS, when you say tax, that is an area where we know a lot of corruption exists, because, and they have the, I don't know whether it's a thankless job or whether there's this thing of actually having to, ensure that people are, fulfilling their civic duties by paying the tax. The tax is an important part of, of how we give back to the nation for all the amenities that we enjoy. So Amu has chosen to enter into that field, into the field of revenue, where she's going to look at revenue. And we all know how important and critical the revenue of from a small organization to a nation, how important that the revenue is. And I'm so glad that, Amu J will be entering into the revenue service, and that is where she will be contributing to helping to make this nation grow. So, and a little word about the Civil Club, because, it is part, as Ramya has been taking care of the Civil Service Aspirants Club. So when we first started this some years ago, it was because we found among our students there were civil service aspirants, and that is why we started that club. And many of our students have gone on to, I don't know whether Amu is aware, we also have a few of our alumni who was part of the civil services, and some of them were nurtured by the Civil Services Club. I know Muzammil, who is here, was also, I think, in the first year part of that club, because I remember him getting a certificate as a promising, student for the, civil services. So he's here to talk to Amu J. So between Ramya and Muzammil and I think Nitin, I'm sure we'll have a wonderful session listening to, Amu, and gaining a lot of insights from her on how you can also crack this exam and emerge as an achiever like Amu. So thank you very much, Amu, for being with us, and congratulations again, and great to have you both here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Now I'm immense happy and proud to introduce such an eminent person and also my good friend, Ms. Amu J, IRS, Assistant Commissioner of Income Tax. Ms. Amu roots from Kerala, born and brought up in Chennai. She had her schooling in Asan Memorial Higher Secondary School. She completed her graduation in civil engineering from M&M Jain Engineering College. She was a university rank holder in her graduation. After her graduation, she started her preparation for civil services and cleared the prestigious exam and topped the rank list with an All India rank of 141. Her father was a banker, currently retired, and her mother is also a civil servant in IRTS, Indian Railways and Account Services, currently working with CMRL. I once again welcome Ms. Amu to the portals of our institute. Now I request Amu ma'am to give us insights of her success journey of UPSC preparation from an aspirant to an IRS officer. Please, ma'am.
A very good morning to all of you, respected Principal Madam and Dean Madam, Anita Madam, and other faculty members, and my dear friends. So it is such a happy and proud moment for me, as I will be interacting with the young civil service aspirants here, who are also having the same dream what I also had. So it's such a happy moment. And I'm very much excited also. And let me tell you that it was not at all a rosy path for me, as the Principal Madam earlier mentioned, that this was my last attempt. And I had faced lots of ups and downs during my course of preparation. So I would like to thank the college administration for giving me such a nice opportunity for sharing my experiences during the course of preparation with all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Now, myself and Muzammil will start the interactive session with a few question and answers, which our UPSC aspirants usually have in their mind. Muzammil, I'll start with the first question. Ma'am, this is your last attempt, and you have dedicated 6 years with perseverance to achieve your dreams. What kept you going?
Of course, it was my ambition to clear this exam with my real-time ambition, and I had the determination also that I had to crack this exam, and then of course the support what I got from my parents, because they have always motivated me. I mean, whenever I felt I faced ups and downs during this preparation time, they just encouraged me to go ahead with my preparation, and always motivated me. And not only my family, I mean my parents, but also my family members. They also just encouraged me. My friends also encouraged me during the course of preparation. And that really helped me in just going ahead with the course of preparation, actually. Otherwise, it would not have been possible at all.
Yes, ma'am. So your mother is also a civil servant. How was your parents' reaction when you cleared and topped in the list with 141 rank? I still remember the day of the result when I called you and asked what happened, and I still remember that happy moment. Yes, please, ma'am.
Um, Actually, when the results came, my mother was attending an online conference or meeting something, and my father was also outside. So then when the result came, I just checked, I searched for my name and number, and it was there. So first I thought it was a fake PDF or something. I couldn't believe my eyes. But then what I did, I just called one of my friends to confirm, and he told me that no, you have cleared the exam. He congratulated me. Then only I just informed my mother that I've cleared the exam, and she was almost in tears because it was such a long journey for me. 6 years is like spending almost 6 years for an exam is not an easy task, especially for the parents also. So they were so happy, and they were so excited also. And that was one of the most beautiful moments of my life too.
Thank you, ma'am. Muzammil,
Yes.
can you please start? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Ma'am. Like, ma'am, when was it the time that you actually decided to go ahead with pursuing civil services as a career? Like, was it some childhood goal that you wanted to achieve it happening?
Uh, Not exactly a childhood goal, I would say, because when I was young, I used to hate civil services because my mother was a civil servant. She belonged to Indian Railway Accounts Service, and it was a transferable job for her. She used to get a lot of frequent transfers. So there were times when I was with my father, and my mother used to get transfers, and she used to just have postings on all India basis. So I used to hate civil services. But only during college time, I started understanding the value of the profession. When people started respecting, I mean, they talk good about my mother, her work profile, everything. Then I started understanding the value of it, and I started deeply analyzing about the profession and how to go about it. So only during the college time, I started developing interest towards civil services.
Okay, ma'am.
So, how was your feel when you stepped into Labasna? Every aspirant's dream, actually. We are excited to know your experience. Can you share your experience during the foundation course too?
Actually, Labasna is something, the Mussoorie, what I have seen only through the pictures, whatever in the social media, like my friends who have cleared the civil services, they go there, they take the pics, and I used to be so excited to see their pics and all in social media. So only that connection I had with Mussoorie or Labasna. And I was so excited to visit that place, and to attend the course also, foundation course in Mussoorie too. And many of my friends had also cleared the examination along with me. So we all went together to Labasna. So that itself was a very fun moment for me. And after reaching there, the foundation course was also really enjoyable because it was a 2-month foundation course, and around 427 officers trainee had attended the course. So it was for the first time that it was for the first time that hello, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Okay. So yeah, it was the first time that all the officers trainees were like accommodated in Mussoorie. Normally, the foundation course happens in such a way that few of the officers would be accommodated in Hyderabad Training Center as well as in Bhopal Training Center, other than Mussoorie. So from 2020 onwards, all the officer trainees will be accommodated in Mussoorie itself. So I got the opportunity to interact with so many officers trainee, and we had so much of fun. There were a lot of cultural events happening, and then we had a 7-day trek. The trek was very hard, but still it was very, very enjoyable. So, and then we also got opportunity to interact with eminent personalities, including our Prime Minister. So it was such a very, very nice, enjoyable experience for me.
So, ma'am, now being an IRS officer, what would you like to entitle your training experience in National Academy of Direct Access, Nagpur?
NADT is in Nagpur, and it is a 16-month course actually. So now I have completed only 4 months, but still I feel the bonding here is too good, and the campus is very beautiful. You have all the facilities here, whether it be sports or arts, whatever it is, whatever you name it, it is there. And we are enjoying the process like anything. And apart from that, regarding the subjects what we deal with, it's especially accounts and then income tax law, which is quite different from that of whatever we have learned during our college days, because I'm also coming from science background. So it's quite different, but still I'm enjoying the process here. And here, more than studies or more than the subjects, the academy focuses on the bonding of the officers trainee, and also in the cultural activities, and also in sports facilities and all that. These are the things where more focus is given. So I'm right now, it's total fun here.
Nice.
Sorry to interrupt. Actually, Ramya, I was
Yes, ma'am.
just seeing her Instagram pages yesterday, and
Okay, ma'am.
whatever she said, in fact, more than I know, it was more of starting from Pongal celebration. Everything was there, and I could see Ammu's pictures. It was very good, Ammu. I really enjoyed reading your Instagram pages.
Yes, ma'am. Especially we celebrated Pongal, India Day, and all on a grand scale. And
I
we
know,
were
and
also taken for, ma'am.
actually it was very good. You know, I was thinking it will be like from morning to night you are going to be into some training, but the last 4 months seeing your pages, I really thought, okay, it's more of a holistic development for all of you, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
It's
and
more on personality development rather than
correct. And I could also see in your
studies
group
and.
pictures your seniors and how they are, you know, into it, and your comment regarding that, all that. It was quite interesting to read all that.
Oh, thank you so much, ma'am. Apart from that, we also had an attachment with National Intelligence Academy in Delhi. So it was a 7-day attachment. And there they taught us how to interrogate the SSCs and how to collect the intelligence, gather all the intelligence and all that. So it was such a nice experience.
Okay. What's your advice for the candidates who are appearing for the personality test? How your mock interviews helped? Can you please share your UPSC interview experience too with us?
Regarding interview, this was my first interview actually, because I had cleared all the 5 prelims, but 6 prelims, And I had written 6 mains, but this was my first interview. Mains was a hard nut for me to crack. So I was quite worried because since it was my last attempt also. At the same, but I did not attend many interviews, like mock interviews, because I thought it would sometimes it might demotivate me. So I just kept away from mock interviews. I just attended only 2. And then what my take is that you have to be thorough with your DAF, that is detailed analysis form is there. So what you have to do is your biodata, you need to generate questions based on your biodata, whether it be your name, your place of birth, your hobbies, whatever it is. You need to generate questions, prepare answers for that, and try practicing those answers in front of the mirror. So that will help you a lot in dealing with the personality test. And they don't call it as interview. It is actually a personality test. So don't worry much about the facts, figures, and all that. And also the answers for the questions, especially the current affairs based questions and all, because your knowledge is already tested in prelims as well as mains exam. So it's only about your personality, how you are dealing with it, whether you're very much nervous, what is your body language, whether you're honest or what. These are the qualities which are being judged in personality test. So please focus on that area more than that of facts and current affairs related answers. My interview was very fine. It was a very pleasant interview. I did not get a it was a very pleasant panel, what I got, fortunately. And my interview lasted only for 15 minutes. And they asked me questions regarding my DAF only, that is my biodata, especially from hobbies side, because one of my hobbies was cooking traditional recipes. So they asked me, if you get an opportunity to have a startup, what and all you will do? How will you arrange capital for your startup? So such practical questions I got. And then they asked about the NGO where I was working for 1 year. And then certain questions I got from current affairs related, like what is your opinion about the poverty in India? And what is the exact percentage of population below poverty line? And then certain technical questions like what about the rainwater harvesting? If it could be done in Chennai, how can you do it? How can you address the water issue in Chennai? So such practical questions I got it, and it was not very tough for me. I was able to sail through, and I felt that they see whether you're honest. That is the most important quality what they're looking for. And if you're honest, pretty honest, if you don't know the answer, if you say that I don't know the answer, they don't see whether you have answered to the questions. They just see whether you're honest and whether you're balanced. So that is all about personality tests. You don't have to worry much about personality test actually.
So, ma'am, sitting out for an interview, for UPSC interview, what happens is many times we might tend to face some stress busters. Like the panel members might ask us like questions that could be related with the person's community as well. So, how do you actually expect people to like tackle up such kind of questions?
It is always better to take a neutral stand rather than going to the extremes, and always better to support the government's policies rather than going against. If at all you can go against government policies or whatever, if some question is based on community, if you have a different opinion, you can always have that, but with relevant facts, and you need to present it in such a way that you are not following an extreme step, or you are not going to the extreme side. So that is what you need to keep in mind. But luckily this time, like fortunately, last year, we did not get such uncomfortable questions. None of us got such uncomfortable questions actually. So I don't think in future also they'll be asking, I don't think they'll be asking such questions.
Okay, ma'am. Now, talking about the mains exam, we can see aspirants are like very much overwhelmed by the syllabus because it's about for 1750, 1750 marks. So when should you think like an aspirant should start up his answer writing practice for mains that could make him comfortable?
Answer writing is the most important thing, like as far as mains is concerned. And I feel one should start answer writing during the prelims preparation itself. Simultaneously, it should go. Because I felt it very difficult to complete my answer till my fourth attempt. I never completed my paper also because I had this writing issue. Like I used to, even Ramya will be knowing, I used to tell her that I used to take a lot of time for completing one answer. So it's very, very important to practice answer writing as soon as you start your prelims preparation. It should go simultaneously because there is a lot of overlapping between the overlapping of subjects in prelims as well as in mains. So whatever you study for prelims and whatever is there in you can connect between both, like between the mains as well as prelims, and especially for that particular subjects, whatever you have covered during prelims, you start writing answers, mains answers for that subjects alone. So like that you can start during your prelims preparation itself. And it is important to stick to the time also. That is, you can just fix time. For example, I used to write 8 questions, 7 to 8 questions for 1 hour on a daily basis. So that helped me in dealing with the time management.
That is, you can improve the speed, right? Daily, if you go with the answer writing, we can improve the speed. Okay, ma'am.
Yes, definitely. We can improve the speed, and also we can improve the structure of the answer writing also. You will get to know the topics and it will be easier for you. Like next time when something related to the same question is being asked, it will be easy for you to present the answer because you are practicing on a daily basis.
Ma'am, geography was your optional paper. Was it your natural choice because you're a civil engineer? And if someone asks your opinion for optional, what would be your answer for the aspirants? Will you recommend or dissuade someone taking this optional subject?
Geography, I took geography because at that point of time it was a very popular subject, and people used to tell me that it is such a scoring subject and all. So that's why I took geography. And as you have mentioned, my graduation was in civil engineering, so I was able to relate it with geography a lot. There are a lot of similarities. But then I don't know, I was not able to score well in my optional subject, even though I found the subject very interesting. I struggled a lot with my optional subject. However, there were aspirants, or there are aspirants who are scoring above 300 in geography. So might be it was my own problem. Like I will not blame the subject or the people who corrected my paper. So maybe I had some problem, some issue with geography, but I would definitely recommend students or aspirants from science background, especially, to choose geography because it's a very, very interesting subject, and you can understand the concepts very easily. There are a lot of YouTube videos available, a lot of material available. So it's a wonderful subject. At the same time, there are other popular subjects such as political science and international relations, and there is also anthropology, sociology. So if you have a flair for writing, then you can opt sociology. It's a wonderful subject. And nowadays, even people having engineering background or science background are opting subjects like maths. Maths is also a very scoring subject. So it's all about your interest and your passion towards the subject. That matters a lot.
So, ma'am, would you like to give some insights on how to approach for GS paper 1, paper 2, and paper 3? Like any specific strategy that would be an approach towards this?
The only thing is that I followed NCRT books of 11th and 12th standard, and that formed the base for my mains preparation. Then I followed Current Affairs magazine, especially there are a lot of coaching academies now, and they come up with different current affairs magazines. So I just used to go through and I used to jot down the points for current affairs related topics and all. And then third one is about analyzing the previous year question papers. How they are asking the questions, what types of questions. So analyzing previous year question papers is the key actually, because that will help you a lot. And if you start practicing those questions, you will be able to structurize your answer in a very beautiful way. So these are the three things what I did. And apart from that, I started practicing answer writing also, because I had the problem of time management. Because I was never able to complete my papers. So that was one of the major problems I faced in mains examination. So what I did just after my prelims, I started answer writing on a daily basis. I spent 1 hour for that. And for within 1 hour, I used to write 7 to 8 questions. And I used to have my stopwatch, and I used to observe the time also, how much time I used to take for each and every question. And I used to get my papers corrected from my mentors as well as other civil services aspirants. And even I used to take part in group discussions also, like my friends. So that also helped me a lot in gaining a lot of points, especially on subjects like polity, economics, etc. Then I have watched a lot of YouTube videos related to economy, Indian economy, and then related concepts in geography and all that. So that these things help me and go ahead with my mains preparation.
Okay, ma'am.
Ma'am, for ethics paper, aspirants usually feel it's very lengthy, and your advice to the aspirants for time management, particularly for ethics, like they can't complete the paper, no?
Yes. Ethics, yes, the time management is one of the biggest problems regarding as far as ethics paper is concerned. So if you see the paper, you will be having two parts. The first part is about general questions, and each question will be comprising of around 10 marks. You will be having around 12 to 13 questions. And then you have part B, which comprises of case studies based questions, which carries huge weightage. So what I did is, like, I started my answers. I mean, I used to start my answers with part B. First, I used to attempt the part B, case studies, and then I go to the part A questions. So here also, I used to fix time for each and every question. So for one case study, I used to take 15 minutes. So within 1.5 hours, I should be finishing my case studies. And then another 1.5 hours, I'll be taking it for the general questions, that is the part A questions. So like that, I used to divide my time. And I used to practice answer writing for ethics papers also. There are previous year papers itself would suffice for that. You don't have to frame questions for ethics, or maybe you can enroll in any of the coaching institutes for answer writing practicing answer writing or something. So in that way, I was able to deal with the time management.
How one can prepare themselves to write good essay, and if questions about education, social justice were asked, your opinion on how it can be answered in GS2 and essay, as we can't use the same approach for GS2 and essay.
Regarding essay is quite tricky, because you have to write 2 essays, and one essay within 1.5 hours. That is 3 hours is the allotted time. And 1,200, I suppose, is the word limit also. So that's quite, you don't know how to write, and you will be confused with the structure of your answer flow and all that. So what I used to do is, first, whatever question I have chosen, I will be writing all the points in the rough page. You will be getting a rough page. So I used to write all the points, whatever is struck in my mind, all the points I used to jot down. And then I used to structureize that points according to the flow of the essay. And then only I will be writing the essay on my answer sheet. So I used to take half an hour for doing the rough work. And then I used to take another 1 hour for writing the answer. So within 1.5 hours, I will be writing one essay, and then I'll go to the next. Or maybe like both the essays, I will do the rough work first, and then I will be completing both the essays. Like this I used to do. And regarding topics, you will be getting topics such as from social issues, such as you mentioned, regarding education or alcoholism or poverty, or maybe from science-based questions also they do ask, like advantages of artificial intelligence, robotics, and all that. And then there are questions from ethics also, value-based questions also they do ask these days. So here also you need to practice answer writing for essay, but maybe like once a week after the prelims, maybe you can devote once a week for answer writing, especially for essay. And remember to have some flow for a proper flow for the essay. Some essay should have a good structure. So there should be a very good introduction. You can either begin the essay with a quote and just explaining the quote. That could be a good one. Otherwise, you can begin it with a story, your personal experience, or something like what you see in editorials of Hindu, like they come up with a small story. So like that, you can begin the essay. Then you can start your essay with a lot of subtopics. So you can either have a SWOT analysis of the essay. That is, you can come up with the strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats, whatever are there. Like that, you can present your essay. Or you can come up with the factors like socio-political, economic factors. In that way, you can structureize your essay. Or maybe with the timelines also. So in this way, like historically, what was it? Then what happened? Now how the condition is. Like that, you can divide your essay or structureize your essay. And then you can end the essay with a proper conclusion. So structurizing the essay is a very important part. And if you are able to structureize it in a proper way, then you will be getting a decent score in essay. Definitely you'll be getting a decent score. And talking about the difference between gender studies and essay, normally in essay, we don't use all the technical jargons and all, especially in GS2, you have all the articles. You need to mention the articles, constitutional posts, cases, and all that. But in essay has to be something which is your personal experience, something like a story it should be. It should not be with all this technical words and all. Such things you can avoid in essay. And then diagrams also. Because in gender studies paper, you just load your answers with diagrams and all that. So that is something which you can avoid in essay. Otherwise, like definitely, if you are preparing for gender studies, that would definitely help you for essay also. So as far as topics are concerned, yes, definitely there is an overlapping. But the way you present your answer, the structurization is, structuring the answer is different.
And ma'am, now, for example, if there is an aspirant who is finding difficulty in encountering suggestions or like relative aspects occurring on maps, how do you like effectively encounter them to like make them happen to incorporate the answers effective in the papers for like map reading?
Map reading nowadays, how I used to do is that I used to do it continent wise. While framing the timetable itself, I make it a point that daily I spend some 15 to 20 minutes for map analysis. And 1 week I will be dealing one continent. The next week I will be dealing with some other continent. For example, this week I'm dealing with Africa, means the next week I will be dealing with Asia. I'll be analyzing the Asia map. So in that, what and all I do is I just see the physical features, such as where are the mountains located, what is the order of mountain peaks, like from north to south, the order of the peaks, which is the tallest peak, are there any important glaciers, then the deserts there, such important physical features I just used to note it down. And I made it a point noting all the important physical features so that it will be easier for me to revise it later on. So then regarding India map, Indian geography, what I used to do is whenever I studied this physical geography from NCERT, I made it a point seeing the Indian map also simultaneously. So that helped me in dealing with the maps. And in papers also, especially in mains, whenever a question is being asked, make it a point drawing some diagram, especially in Indian geography. If, for example, if they ask something about rice growing areas, just draw India map and then just locate the rice growing areas in India. Or something about monsoon if they ask. Just draw an Indian map and just draw that mechanisms of Indian monsoon. So like this, if you are trying to incorporate the maps in your answer sheet, that can fetch you more marks.
Fine, ma'am. Now talking about the phase of civil services, there are chances like aspirants might tend to like develop opinions on their answers. Like for example, going ahead with polity might be talking about any typical topic like NDC. A candidate might be tending out to like bring out his own opinion and answer. Now what do you think about this to be like a boon or a ban in the path of civil services?
Having your own opinion is definitely a boon, but as far as when you go for an interview or when you present your answers in mains, it is always recommended to go with a neutral stand, as I have already mentioned. Don't take the extreme opinions, because that may affect your answers, because ultimately you want to enter the service. And if you're going against the government, and then that will be there itself, there is a conflict, so conflict of interest is there. So definitely, I would tell you to have a neutral opinion only. So that should be reflected in your answers also. Especially you should be careful while writing your mains answers. If there are opinion-based questions, it is better to support the government rather than going with the extreme side, even during interview also.
Even some drawbacks are there. We can point the pros and cons, and we can take a neutral stand. Is that?
Yes, yes, you can do that also. Like you can talk about the pros. There are questions of critical analysis based questions are there. Like they might ask you, critically analyze national education policy or new education policy. Such a question is there. Definitely you have to talk about the pros and cons of that particular policy. And then you can conclude saying that it is a good step. Something like a positive end or positive conclusion is what is required, rather than taking an extreme step or a negative thing. A negative vibe, the examiner should not get a negative vibe from your answer. That is the whole point.
Well said, ma'am. So you are associated as faculty member in IAS Academy for evaluating the answer scripts. And how will the answer should be structured? With the small diagrams, flowcharts, and schematics, you already explained it, but it will be helpful for our aspirants too if you can share your mock test answer sheets with us so that they will refer in future too.
Yeah, definitely. So for each question, like there will be in, especially in mains gender studies paper, we'll be having 10-mark questions will be there. And that will be around 10 questions you have to write. And then 15-mark questions also are there. So totally 20 questions. So for that, you need to follow a particular pattern, like there should be an introduction. Then you can draw a diagram related to that particular subject or particular question. And then you can go ahead with the body. That is the main content of the answer question. And then you can conclude your answer. So there should be an introduction, then a diagram, then the body, and then a conclusion. This has to be the structure. And then try sticking to the question itself. Like like your answer should be to the point. They are expecting you to write answers to whatever has been asked. And be according to the word limit, because that is very, very important. And especially for time management also, because you have to write around 20 questions within 3 hours. So just be within the word limit itself. And it is not necessary to fill the pages and all. Even if you are able to present your answer, if they have given 2-3 pages, and if you are able to present your answer within the word limit in 1 page or 1.5 page, that is well and good. You don't have to worry about the next half or 1.5 pages. Just leave it. And then regarding the presentation of your main answer content, I used point-based or bulletin format for presenting my answers. You can either use paragraph format or bulletin format, but I feel it is better to go for the point format, because then you can finish the answer within the time limit. Paragraph means you have to write the answers, you have to make sure whether the sentences are correctly formed and all that. So it is more time consuming.
So, ma'am, what would you recommend for current affairs? If, for example, an aspirant effectively to like make notes for from newspaper, and like any strategy for boosting marks in that aspect as a criteria?
For current affairs, I referred one newspaper. I relied on Hindu newspaper, but I never used to read line by line. Like I focused on the editorials and then the science and technology based portion for the as far as newspaper is concerned. And then I focus more on current affairs magazines of various coaching academies. So that really helped me in noting down the points, current affairs based points, and analyzing the answers. There are certain current affairs magazines that come up with proper analysis also. Like, for example, it can be Vision or Shankar IS Academy's current affairs magazine. They come up with proper analysis. So that helped me in preparing for not only for the prelims, but also for the mains examination. So these are the two things I relied on. One is editorials also help me in presenting my essay answers, because the structure what they follow in newspaper editorials, the same structure you can, the same pattern you can follow for your essay answers too. So that also helped me in dealing with essay papers. So these are the two sources what I had for current affairs preparation.
Okay, ma'am. Now, talking about this organization and well-structured preparation for civil services, like we have aspirants who might face some difficulties in particular subjects, and like they might take longer amount of time than the schedule. So, what would you like to advise them on for like sequential preparation criteria?
Definitely, you need a streamlined kind of preparation, because I know that there are the thing is, people say that anything under the sun could be asked in civil services. That is what they say. Actually, exactly, it is not like that. You have a prescribed syllabus for civil services, especially for prelims as well as for the mains. However, the syllabus is very vast and exhaustive. So that is the problem. So definitely you require a streamlined kind of a preparation, and proper timetable is what is required. You need to have short-term goals, short-term as well as long-term goals. Like definitely you should have a weekly timetable and monthly timetable. And just drawing timetables will not suffice. You need to make sure that you stick according to the schedules and you complete your targets also within the prescribed time. Then at the same time, I will not recommend that 24 hours kind of preparation, because that can that will make you hate the subjects, because that is the problem what I have seen in many of my friends. They used to go in this 24-hour mode preparation, and then finally they start hating the subjects and hating civil services also. So that should not be there. You should spend quality time with your parents, with your friends. You should have your own space. Like you can go for once in a while, you can go for shopping or whatever you would like to do. You can do all that, because then only that can really freshen your mind, and that can really improve your concentration towards your studies also. So that is what is required.
Your insight on importance of daily routine. Should an aspirant have a weekly or monthly plan, or they can simply get up in the morning and decide what to study at that time?
Yes, definitely they should have the weekly and monthly plans, because on a weekly basis, I like for me, like I used to have weekly timetable. The 5 days I would be devoting and dealing with multiple subjects, and on weekends I used to revise. I used to take mock tests and all that. So like that, I had a prescribed timetable. In the same way, monthly also, I used to have long-term goals, like in this particular month, what subjects have to be finished, the next month, what subjects to be finished, when to be taken the revisions. Like that, I used to have monthly targets also. So that will help you in like systematic way of preparation. There are people, I have seen people who don't even prepare timetables, but come out with flying colors. But they are like, I would say, the exceptionals. I will never recommend such kind of preparation. Uh, it's always safe to go with a systematic way of preparation.
Yes, ma'am. There are aspirants who wanted to go to Delhi, as Delhi has its importance for civil service preparation. One of our alumni who actually planned, and his plan has been disrupted because of COVID-19 pandemic. How can they plan their preparation?
Nowadays, I feel there is no relevance in a particular location and all, because most of the classes are conducted on an online basis. So wherever you are, you can just attend it. And going to Delhi was never an option. I mean, I had never considered that as an option during the entire course of my preparation. I was in Chennai only most of the time, and there are so many good coaching academies in our in the local area, local region also, like whether it be in Kerala or Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, there are good coaching academies. So after all, what you need is a personal attention. When you're going for such commercial academies, you might not get that personal attention. So it is always good to inquire about the coaching academies, inquire whether they are giving you personal attention, whether they are able to mentor you, give you proper guidance. Just talk to friends, talk to civil service aspirants, as well as people who have cleared the exam, so that you will get to know which are the academies where you can enroll, or which are the academies where you get that personal attention. So that is more important. That you might not get in such big academies which are there in that are there in Delhi. So that is ultimately what is required, and that is that is there in Chennai itself. Like there are so many academies that give you that personal attention, and they just whatever doubts you have, they are very much approachable to you. So you can just get in touch with them. Or otherwise also nowadays there is no necessity that you should get enrolled in a coaching institute. Without getting enrolled in an institute, you can prepare on your own itself, because all the material, everything is available in the internet. You can also watch a lot of YouTube videos for understanding the concepts also. There is no need of a teacher as such. The only thing is somebody need to guide you. And coaching institute, the most important thing is that they give you a lot of tests. So that can help in systematic way of preparation. Somebody is there to push you. That push will not be there for people who are studying or preparing on their own. That is the only difference. So it is not necessary that you should go to Delhi for preparation.
Amul, luck sometimes does not favor us. When you can clear in your sixth attempt, it was not a short race. It's like a marathon. Is there any requirement for Plan B? Because our students who are already placed or still aspiring for civil service, what would be your advice for them?
Yes, I could see questions also regarding that in the chat box. So Plan B is very much essential, but to be frank enough, I did not have a Plan B.
Yes, I know. You had only one Plan A. You were having only Plan A.
So I was very much like, I'm very much passionate about civil services and totally interested in civil services. That is why that really helped me in going ahead with this preparation also. And I never thought about anything else in life, like whether I should have a Plan B, or should I go for higher studies, or should I go for any other job. Nothing was there in my mind. I felt that till my last attempt, I should give my best for this. And if at all nothing is going to happen, then I will think about something else. That was in my mind all the time. I never thought about Plan B. But I don't know whether that was a good decision. I don't have any regrets for that. But I don't know whether I can advise or recommend the aspirants also to be like that, because definitely I feel nowadays it's a very competitive world. So definitely you should have a Plan B that can help in boosting your confidence level also while preparing for civil services.
So ma'am, what would be your opinion for preparation for prelims? Like we can see candidates who can only focus for prelims in one way, or like only on mains. What is your say about that? Like what would be the more major part over here?
For prelims, I felt NCERT. NCERT textbooks are the most important thing. And I have seen aspirants going through the 6th standard, 7th standard NCERTs and all, but I just went through only 11th and 12th standard NCERTs. And then that formed the base for the prelims. And then you can refer the base, other basic standard books, such as, for example, you have Lakshmikant for polity, and for environment, there are other standard books. So like that, for different subjects, there are standard books. Those books you can refer. And it is very important to revise those subjects, whatever you have learned. For example, this week you have learned something related to something in polity, means it is very essential to revise that on weekends. And then make it a point writing, giving lot of mocks. Because mocks are the key to this prelims, and as well as mains also. Prelims, it's very important to attend lot of mocks. Then only you will know where you are losing and where you are gaining. That you will be able to analyze your positives and negatives only when you start taking mocks. Otherwise, just learning the subject will not lead you anywhere. So if you want to do smart work, then start attending mocks. Initially, there will be a starting trouble. You will not feel like doing it, because you will definitely have the fear that you might lose confidence. But don't worry about it. Initially, you will not be scoring good marks. but then slowly you will start gaining the pace. So don't worry about it. As soon as you start your preparation, start giving mocks.
So how many sufficient mock tests and full length tests would you like to tell aspirants to go over with before appearing for your exams?
Mock test, I don't have the count. I would have done so many mocks. Like since it was my 6th attempt, like in the initial attempts, I used to do the subject-wise mocks and all. But then from my 3rd, 4th, 5th attempt and all, then I started going only for the full paper mocks. That is full mocks. So what is my advice is like you go for like make it a point that you start writing, giving mocks on a like once in a week at least, both CSAT as well as for gender studies paper also. Then you can, there are a lot of coaching academies offering such what is that, packages and all. Maybe you can enroll in that. Or there are there are even mock tests freely available in the websites also with answer keys. So that also you can try. And especially just before the prelims, most of the academies will come up with all India mock tests, free all India mock test. And I know, I mean, I would have enrolled in almost all such mock tests and I've given mocks, so that and all will definitely help you. And just giving mocks will not help. You have to analyze where you have gone wrong, what are your positives. All these analysis you have to do. Mock may take only 1.5 hours hardly, but analysis will take a lot of time for you. So that has to be done. Note down on a piece of paper or in a notebook what are your positives and answers for the questions where you have gone wrong, whether you have done any careless mistakes. All these things you need to write down after taking each and every mock, and then try working on it and make sure that you don't commit the same mistakes next time. So like that you can improve your marks in prelims exam.
Fine, ma'am. Lastly, Ms. Ammu, our KCG civil service aspirants are having a worthy goal of becoming an IAS or IPS or IRS officers in future. Your word of advice for motivating the upcoming future officers for appearing in UPSC 2021 and 2022.
Definitely, I'm very happy to know that there are a lot of civil services aspirants among you, and I'm very happy to know about it because this is the profession where you can render service to the nation, and that is a very, very big opportunity. And also the respect what you get from people, the recognition what you get from people is something very, very different. It is because of it is only because of the service I am here in front of all of you. Otherwise I do not so that is the only stand. So definitely stay motivated, and just dreaming alone will not suffice. You have to work hard, and the perseverance is what is required during the whole course of preparation. And if at all you don't clear in your first or second attempts, don't worry. Just try hard, and without losing any hopes, just continue with your preparation, and do not overload your uh, preparation also. Like don't over exhaust with preparation. Just like you spend quality time with everyone, your friends, relatives and all that, and you get engaged in some physical activity, hobbies, etc., so that you enjoy your preparation. For me also, yes, of course I took 6 years or 5 years to clear this exam, but I don't have any regrets because I feel those 5 years were beautiful time what I had spent with my family, with my relatives, with my friends. I had gone out with my friends, and then I had pursued my hobbies. And also my preparation was also beautiful. Like I used to engage in group studies and all that. So I gained a lot of friends. I was able to engage in conversation with a lot of eminent personalities. So I do not have any kind of regrets. So definitely go ahead with the preparation, work hard, and be determined. You will definitely reach your goal.
Thank you, ma'am. So now Nitin Nair will, Nitin, yes, I'm handing over the session to Nitin Nair. Please read the queries from participants.
Yes, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yeah, very
Yes,
much
Nitin.
so.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, ma'am. So I'll be reading out the questions from our participants, and some of them have already been answered. But if you'd like to elaborate, yes, I will lead through the questions. So first question we have from Sadasivam sir. So, what's your advice to the current generation students for cracking any competitive exams?
My advice is that to go through the syllabus of the any competitive exam will be having a prescribed syllabus. So that syllabus should be you should be able to even reproduce it during your sleep. That is what people say. So that is very much required. And then analysis of previous year question papers. Try working out previous year question papers. Give lot of mocks. Mocks is the key. There is nothing more than mocks actually. So for all the competitive exams, I would say that the most important thing which you have to do is practicing mocks. So that can definitely help you in tackling with the competitive exams.
Yes, ma'am. So the next question we've got from Ramya. What did you learn from each attempt, and how did you improvise your preparation for the exam?
Yes, each attempt was like a learning experience to me. And as I earlier mentioned, my problem was in time management, was in dealing with the time management, especially in mains papers. So for that, I started a lot of things I've done, like regarding pen also, like which is the lightest pen. I used to search on internet also. I used to spend a lot of time in internet seeing which pen is very light, so that I can use it for the main exam. And then I started answer writing like I used to write a lot of answers on a daily basis. I started writing answers. So like that, I have taken a lot of effort so that each and every year I saw improvement, especially in my time management. So that is what is required. Like you need to analyze where you have gone wrong, and more time to be given on how to correct your tips. So that is what is required.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, so moving forward to the next question, we've got a question from Balaji sir. So recently, when sir was interacting with the students, he noticed that most of them, many of them, actually like to take up the civil services. So he wants to know the reason why there's a sudden surge in the aspirants for civil services.
Um, yes, of course. Maybe seeing the trend, people are very much interested in civil services. But I would say that any profession has its own charm. So whether it be teaching or anything like a doctor in medicine, every field, engineering field, whatever it is, it has its own charm. But nowadays there is a trend or a surge towards civil services. Maybe because of the recognition what you get as a civil servant, and also because of the pride in serving the nation. You get an opportunity to serve the nation through civil services. So that may be the reason. There are people who enroll in civil services. Start preparing for civil services, thinking that it is a cushy job where you don't have to work much. You have a lot of other like all the you get all the promotions, everything on seniority basis. You don't have to work much. You need not be accountable accountable. But then that is not the real case, because I come from a civil services family. So I have seen these days there are a lot of reforms happening, and nowadays the civil servants have to be very much accountable. They are in the limelight. So definitely that should not be the reason to choose the profession. That is what all I want to say.
Yes, ma'am. So moving on to the next question, which is the last question. We have a question from Jonadab, which is actually like, how did you manage your commitments and other work during your preparation for the civil services?
As I earlier mentioned, I did not have any plan B, and I did not go for any work. But fortunately, I had the support of my family, emotional as well as financial support. And that is the major reason why I did not go for any other job. But still, I used to teach in various academies, and I used to correct answer scripts and all. So I did things very much connected to the civil services only. I did not go for any other job. But there are aspirants who used to do simultaneously, prepare as well as work in a place. And there are friends of mine who have cleared or come out with flying colors. So there are aspirants who are able to do simultaneously, like working as well as preparing for the exams. But then you have to be extremely committed, and you have to spend a lot of time on your preparation also, especially during the weekends. So you should have a proper timetable, and systematic preparation is what is having such a kind of an arrangement.
Yes, ma'am. So we're done with the questions from the participants. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, Nitin.
Yes, ma'am.
Now we come to the end of the session. My heartfelt thanks to Ms. Amu for accepting our invite in spite of her very busy schedule. She spent her time for our civil service aspirants, and she was patient enough to clarify our queries. Thank you, ma'am. And I place my sincere thanks to our management. It's truly an excellent opportunity for all our aspirants to get the guidance, motivation, and inspiration from successful civil servants. I am sure these webinars will streamline their preparation at the initial stage itself and simplify the process to achieve their goals to become an IAS or IPS. I thank our principal, a dynamic person with an optimistic approach, who is the reason behind the successful event. My sincere thanks to our Dean Student Affairs for her constant support and motivation. I thank my HOD, Dr. Kavita Balamurugan, and my friends and colleagues for their encouragement. I thank my student coordinators, Nandini, Prem Kumar, Amar, Rupesh, Balaselvaraj, Muzamal, and Nathan. A very special thank to all the external participants from various colleges, universities, and my dear students. Wishing you all the best for your UPSC exam. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you, Amu, once more. Thank you so much for being with us. And thank you, Ramya, for organizing this. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.